I have been driving for the last 2 hours to the Marriott in Baltimore. My wife was there at a conference, and I was going to surprise her by dropping in and taking her to supper. For the last 3 months, I have suspected my wife of having an affair with one of her co-workers. I just had the feeling that every time she was taking one of her business trips, training sessions, or conferences, she was really getting laid. Tonight, I was going to catch her in the act and end it for all. My wife Megan and I have been married for 14 years. We have 2 beautiful children, Sarah 12 and Todd 10. Right now, they are staying with my mother. Megan and I had gotten married right out of high school. We dated the last 2 years of school, and it was a natural move into the marriage. She was bright and always happy. She wore her brown hair long. She was thin and had strong, angular facial features. There was not an ounce of fat on her. I always thought we had a strong marriage until about 3 months ago. It was just little things and nothing I could really pin down. I hated to ask her about it or confront her because I was afraid of looking paranoid or jealous. Today's meeting was close enough that I could unexpectedly drop in and maybe catch her in the act. I took my suit bag with me to the counter. "Hi, I'm Phil Jenkins. My wife Megan is here for the insurance conference and is in room 214. She said I could pick up a key here." After checking the computer, the clerk got a key. "Could I see some identification, please?" "No problem, it's good that you ask." I showed him my driver's license. I was nervous as hell as I walked to the elevator. What was I going to do when I caught her? What was I going to say? Should I knock or just walk in? Will she have the safety latch on? Will she be alone? Will she even be in the room? As I walked down the hall, I decided to just put the key in the lock and try to open the door. I will have to see what happens after that. I tried to be as quiet as I could. After unlocking the door, I opened it and found Megan sitting at a desk with her briefcase open doing paperwork. She turned around with a gasp. "Damn it, Phil, you scared me to death. What the hell are you doing here?" "Hi, honey. I had a little spare time and thought I would drop in and take you to supper." "Great. You are staying the night, aren't you? I sure could use a little company." She walked over and gave me a big kiss. Well, it looks like my great plan to catch my cheating wife was a complete bust. "Do we have time for a quickie before we go to eat?" I hopefully asked. "Hey, I have to take a shower first, but I'll tell you what. How about a quick before I shower? After we get back from supper, we will have all night to do whatever you want." I was glad I was wrong about her cheating. I loved this woman and didn't want to lose her. "There, that should hold you until after supper." With a big grin on her face, she turned and went into the bathroom to take her shower. I put myself together and sat on the bed. Megan's toiletry case was sitting on the dresser, and I went over to see if she had a few aspirin to get rid of my headache from driving. I didn't find any pills, but in the side pocket of her case, I noticed something strange. I slowly pulled a pack of 6 condoms from the case. I held them in my hand as I sat on the bed. After Todd was born, Megan went on birth control pills. They made her throw up when she took them, so we decided that I would get a vasectomy. Since then, we have not used any birth control. It was nice not having the hassle of condoms or pills. Of course, now the question is, what the hell are these doing in her toiletry case? I am not stupid, and quickly came to the conclusion that my wonderful wife was indeed cheating. Now I didn't know what to do. Rummaging around in her case, I found a couple of safety pins she kept for clothing emergencies. I took one of the pins and carefully poked a hole through the middle of each of the rubbers. I replaced them just as I found them. She was still in her shower, so I took my cell phone and called a friend at home. "Freddie, this is Phil. I need you to do a favor for me." "No problem. What do you need?" "Wait about an hour, then call me on my cell and tell me a pipe burst at the school, and they need me as soon as possible. Actually, all you have to do is call, and I'll fill it in at my end." "Got it. I'll call about 7. See you, buddy." I decided I really didn't want to spend the night with my wife. I was sorry that we did what we did already and did not want to add to it. I would be able to think on the drive home. I knew I had to do something, but at this point, did not know what. As Megan got out of the shower, it was all I could do not to confront her. I was burning up inside and wanted to hurt this woman. who was my wife in some fashion. I am not a violent man. I never lose my temper and try to stay cool in any situation. I also figured out it was better if I did not let her know that I was aware of her infidelity. By the time we got to the dining room, I was totally depressed. "Order anything you want, dear. I can expense it." "Well, I'm not really that hungry. I think I'll just have the small filet." "That sounds good for me, too. How about a bottle of rose to go with that?" After the waiter took the order, I couldn't help myself. I had to probe a little. "Megan, are you happy with the way our marriage is going?" "Of course. I have a nice home, 2 great kids, and a husband who loves me. What more could I ask for?" "Oh, I don't know. I guess I just wonder sometimes if I am doing everything possible to keep you happy. I feel so lucky to have such a fabulous lady for a wife. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to believe it is real." "Oh, you silly goose. That's why you drove all the way down here to see me. Well, I don't think you have anything to worry about. I am happy and content, and you are doing all the right things. A woman couldn't ask for a better husband than you." The waiter brought our dinners, and we made small talk about nothing throughout the meal. Just as plates were being taken away, my cell phone rang. I excused myself and went into the lobby so I wouldn't disturb any other diners. I waited a few minutes and went back in. That was Freddie. "A water pipe broke at the school. I really have to get back there as soon as I can. I'm sorry I have to cancel our night together." There was a look of disappointment on Megan's face. I couldn't tell if it was real or not. It didn't matter to her if I stayed or left. One way or the other, she was going to get. As we were getting on the elevator, Kirk Langford was getting off. Kirk was the business associate that Megan always seemed to be traveling with. "Oh, hi, Megan. I stopped by the room to see if you wanted to get some supper, but there was no answer. I see why now." He held out his hand. "Kirk Langford, and you must be Phil. Megan talks about you all the time." Phil came down for the night, but an emergency came up and he has to go back. Guess I'll have to sleep alone again tonight. It was hard shaking hands and feigning a nice smile. As we were riding up in the elevator, I had to bring up the subject again that was eating at me. "Megan, I would really like you to quit your job, and also I would feel better if you were not working with Kirk. We discussed it before, and it is important to me." "Phil, I told you, I have no intention of quitting my job. I like what I am doing, and I am learning a lot from Kirk. You have to get over this paranoia you have about Kirk and me." Megan and I went to the room, and after a quick kiss, I picked up my bags and left for the trip home. I couldn't help thinking all the way home about Kirk stopping by Megan's room after he had his supper. By the time I arrived at the house, I was a basket case. I have begun to hate my wife for what she was doing to me. I wish I was one of those guys who could figure out all those fancy ways to catch their cheating wives, but I was dumbfounded. What could I do about it? I couldn't even figure out a way to get out of having intimacy with her. Divorce was what I really wanted, but really didn't have enough evidence to justify it. I felt defeated. My wife was cheating on me. I knew it and couldn't do anything about it. I was not going to put up with it, but needed help. 2 days later, Megan came home, smiling like a schoolgirl. I could tell she had a good time, and it made me madder than I was. I checked her bag, and there was 1 condom left. It still had a hole in it. Intimacy with my wife that night was more of a chore than a pleasure. Saturday was the Globus Insurance Company picnic. At least the kids would have something enjoyable to do. This was not a day that I was looking forward to it. I couldn't help but believe that some of the other people in the company knew what was going on, and I felt a little like a. I tried to be low profile so I wouldn't become the butt of any crude jokes. Maybe I was a little paranoid, but I couldn't help it. Megan was having fun socializing all over the place, especially with Kirk. They were not doing anything touchy-feely, but they were definitely close. I was being ignored, which was fine. "Hi, I'm Janet Langford. You must be Phil Jenkins." She was a knockout. Now I was really confused. I thought my wife was great and I loved her, but Janet Langford was a picture right out of a pin-up magazine. She had long auburn hair and big blue eyes. Her body was perfect even though she was a little short. Why would Kirk Langford cheat on a stunner like this? "Oh, I'm sorry you caught me daydreaming. Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. Can we go someplace and talk? Maybe someplace with no kids and noisy people around?" "Sure, let's wander down by the lake. Nobody's gone to miss me." "Me either," I replied. There were some nice benches about 100 yards from the picnic area. We sat down on one of them, overlooking the lake. "I'm all ears. What would you like to talk about?" Janet hesitated. "This is difficult for me. I don't know exactly how to bring it up. It is a very delicate subject." At that point, I knew that she knew. I decided to make it easy for her. "Are you referring to the affair that Kirk and my wife are having? I just found out this week." Janet seemed relieved. "I have known for about 2 months. I am getting ready to have the divorce papers served, but I need a little help. I hired a detective to get proof for me, but my lawyer said I would have a much better case if Megan would be willing to testify or at least sign a notarized statement attesting to the affair." "What do you mean by proof?" I asked. "I have photos and taped phone conversations. I wasn't able to get any videos yet, but the photos are pretty good. I also have times and dates. I can try and help. I am not sure how, but I can work on it. Do you think your lawyer could help me with the same divorce papers using some of your evidence? I would really appreciate it because I don't have anything for proof at all. I am also suing Globus. I have some statements that confirm that certain management-level company officials knew of the affair and did nothing to stop it. They will have a choice, fire both of them, or face a $1 million lawsuit." "Wow, I am certainly impressed," I replied. "Kirk is playing golf tomorrow morning. Can you come over to the house about mid-morning? He should be gone till late afternoon. I can show you what I have, and we can figure out if there is anything we can do. I live at 206 Hemlock Avenue in Crestmont." "Okay, it's a date. Not really a date, but you know what I mean." We both laughed a little. I felt comfortable with her. We walked back up to the picnic area. No one ever missed us. I felt a lot better about things. Maybe this whole mess could be resolved. I sure hope so. As I expected the next morning, Megan told me she had some shopping to do and would be gone for a couple of hours. After she left, I dropped the kids off at my mom's and headed over to Crestmont. Janet met me at the door and we went into the den. There was a nice leather couch, and on the table in front of it was a large computer monitor. On the screen was a picture of an empty motel room. She motioned me to sit down. "I have beer, soda, and wine. What would you like?" "Regular soda is fine, Pepsi if you have it." "You have my attention, Janet. Care to tell me what is going on?" "Well, in a few minutes, we are going to watch my dear husband play a round of golf, live and in full color. I hope you won't be too upset, but I think you are going to recognize his caddy." "How the hell did you arrange this?" "It cost me $1,400 to get everything in place for this. It better be worth it. Of course, Kirk is going to pay for it. I am guessing it will last about 2 hours, so get comfortable. I have popcorn and nachos to help us pass the time. By the way, I will be getting a DVD of the whole session and will gladly give you a copy. I don't really want to see this, but on the other hand, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Let the show begin." We made small talk for about 20 minutes. She showed me the information she had collected about the affair. I was amazed at the photos, tapes, and documents she had collected. I was also crushed because now I knew for sure what Megan was doing. I was surprised to learn that Janet had 3 large koi ponds in the backyard. I was hoping to get a chance to see them and asked if I could bring the children over sometime. She seemed pleased that I was interested and said she would love to have them come by. About that time, there was some action on the monitor. As Janet had predicted, Kirk and Megan walked into the room and immediately started to undress. There was no small talk and no foreplay. They just stripped down and jumped on the bed. The video was great, but the sound was a little garbled. It didn't matter because the picture was the important part. I felt a little uncomfortable sitting on a couch with a stranger watching my wife and her husband having intimacy. "Wow, you don't see like that very often," Janet commented. I smiled but didn't know what to say as a reply. In fact, I didn't know what to say at all. "Janet, I hate to interrupt the show, but do we have to see all of this?" "I take it that this is something you don't want to watch," Janet replied. "Not really. To be honest with you, I find observing my wife having intimacy with another man to be a little unpleasant, and I feel a little uncomfortable watching it with you sitting aside of me." "Well, the whole thing is being recorded, and that is all we really need for the lawyers. We don't have to watch it. I can't say I was getting any enjoyment out of it. The plot seems to be pretty predictable anyhow. Are you going to go home or what?" "Well, actually, I was hoping you could show me your koi ponds. I think that would be a lot more interesting than 2 hours of huff and puff." Her eyes seemed to light up, simply because I had shown an interest in her hobby. She jumped up, and as we walked to the back of the house, I could hear Megan reaching her first. I couldn't help thinking that I was going to have a more enjoyable afternoon than my wife was. The 3 fish ponds were wonderful. I was especially fascinated by the pumping and filter systems, since I was originally a plumber before getting the job at the school. Kirk did not help her with her hobby at all, and she had to hire people to do any work on the pipes or pumps. Of course, I offered to come over and assist her any time Kirk was playing golf. I wasn't trying to hit on Janet. I just wanted to learn more about the koi ponds, but spending time with her was a plus. After a few hours that passed too fast, we went back into the house. The motel room was empty, so we figured it was time for me to go home also. Janet promised to call when Kirk had another golf game so I could come over with Sarah and Todd. The next few weeks were difficult. Every time Megan took a shower, I would check her bag. There was always a new supply of condoms. I couldn't figure out when she was squeezing in the time to use them all. I carried the safety pin on my keychain so it would be handy for poking holes in them. Any day now, I was expecting Megan to have to make a surprise visit to her sister. In the evenings after Kirk had a golf game, the kids would tell Megan about their visit to the koi lady, but she never seemed to be interested. They would show her pictures of the fish they had drawn and tell her about the names they gave all the fish. She never made the connection between Kirk's wife and the koi lady. She seemed to be relieved that I was able to keep the kids occupied while she was having intimacy. I made 2 more attempts to get her to quit her job and stop seeing Kirk. Both times I got the same turn down, and the second one was nasty. I was also making excuses for not having intimacy with her, and she responded with a few catty digs about my masculinity. It stung a little, but made everything I was doing easier to justify. Finally, on a Tuesday night, she dropped the bomb. "Phil, I am feeling really stressed out lately. I'd like to take a few days off from work and visit my sister for about a week. Do you think you could watch the kids while I unwound a little?" "Hey, I understand. You have been putting in a lot of overtime and late nights. I think it would be a good idea for you to relax. A trip to your sister's is a lot better than a year with a shrink. Go ahead and have a good time. I'll take care of everything." "I'm glad you understand. All the extra work is for the good of the family, but I think I might have overdone it." I had a hard time sleeping that night thinking about all the things I had to do the next day. I was glad this time had finally arrived. Megan's sister Nancy and her husband Brad lived about 3 hours away. Brad was an okay guy, but was completely controlled by Nancy. When she said jump, Brad jumped. The interesting thing about the town where they lived is that there are 2 abortion clinics. Of course, I had the names, addresses, and hours of operation for both of them. I had even familiarized myself with the terms of an agreement that were required for service at each of them. They both required a 2-day cooling-off period. That meant that the soonest that Megan could have a procedure scheduled was Friday, assuming her first appointment was on Wednesday. I figured she would try and get it all done as soon as possible, so she would have a few days to recover before coming home. That gave me about a day and a half to get my plans laid out. No problem. After Megan took off on her rest and recuperation trip, I started setting things up. I had to explain to my folks what was going on. It was difficult for me to admit that I had failed as a husband, but they understood and offered their support. The kids enjoyed staying with them, and Dad's truck would come in handy for moving Megan's things out. The lawyer would have all the paperwork ready for me to pick up on Thursday morning. Janet's paperwork was also ready, and she was planning on serving Kirk the same time I served Megan. The only problem I had was that I felt I should give Megan one last chance to make things right. I didn't hold out much hope, however. Dad and I stayed busy the rest of the day packing Megan's things. Thursday morning, after a 3-hour drive, I arrived at the first clinic. It was a strikeout. That left only one more. It was called the Family Planning Center. I approached the receptionist with as much confidence as I could muster. "Hi, my name is Phil Jenkins. My wife Megan said I had to come in and sign a consensual agreement form." "What kind of form?" she asked. "I am sorry. I don't know the exact name of it, but apparently it is a form that states that I understand everything that is going on, and I am in agreement with it and will not sue or anything like that." "Hold on a minute. That was Megan Jenkins, right?" "Yes. Do you need identification or anything?" She shook her head no, as she clicked away on the computer for a few seconds. "Her sister signed for her, but your signature would really be better. Hold on a minute while I get the file." Jackpot. Now I just have to get through the next 2 minutes. She placed the form in front of me and asked me to sign just below Nancy's. I noticed that the actual procedure was scheduled for Friday morning at 11 a.m., and they were to be there an hour early. "Do we owe any more money on this?" I asked as I took out my checkbook and placed it on the counter. "No. Your wife paid the full amount, $800 in cash. There is nothing else due at this time." "Thanks a lot. I appreciate your help. It makes it a lot easier." You would not believe the overwhelming welcome I got when I arrived at Nancy and Brad's place. It was so phony, it was actually funny. Megan started out, "Phil, this is a wonderful surprise. What are you doing here?" "Well, Mom and Dad wanted to keep the kids for a few days, so I took some sick leave and decided to pop in on you guys. I guess you could say I needed to unwind a little too." The room was sort of quiet. I could see the wheels spinning in everyone's head. I put them on the spot, and now they had to wiggle out of it. I saw Nancy nod to Brad to join her in the kitchen. Megan was making small talk about nothing in particular. After a few minutes, Brad came back into the room. "Phil, I got a great idea. I can get off work tomorrow, and I'll borrow my buddy Jack's bass boat. We can get out of here early and spend the day on the lake. That way we won't be bothering the ladies. How does that sound, buddy?" "Sounds great to me, Brad. A day drifting on the lake will make all my worries disappear. See if Jack can go with us." "Okay, I'll get everything set up." Everyone looked relieved at the way things worked out. We had an uneventful supper and sat around the rest of the evening chatting about nothing. There was no intimacy that night, of course, because Megan didn't want her sister to hear. Bright and early the next morning, Jack was out front with the boat. Brad was making lunch in the kitchen and filling the cooler with beer. We chatted around a bit while we were loading the truck and the boat. "Aren't you getting into the truck?" Brad asked as I stood by the passenger's door. "No, Brad. I decided not to go. I suggest that you make a day of it because I don't think you are going to want to face Nancy for the next few hours." Brad spent about 5 minutes arguing with me about going or not going until I finally had to get nasty with him. After a couple of well-placed swear words and a few physical threats, Jack and Brad took off. I went into the house and poured myself a cup of coffee. I found Nancy's cell and turned it off. Then I picked up the landline and gave my dad a call. He was always up early. Dad and I talked for about 2 hours. The call waiting tone chimed in about 6 times during our chat. Brad must have been trying to get through to Nancy for about 2 hours and then gave up. I heard Nancy and Megan getting up, so I said goodbye to my father and got ready for the fireworks. I cleared out the missed calls on the landline phone and turned Nancy's cell phone back on. In less than 2 hours, Megan and Nancy had to be at the family planning center. In about 5 minutes, I was going to be face-to-face with two pissed-off Spitfires. I drank up the first pot of coffee, so I made a new pot for my loving wife and her sister. "Phil, what the hell are you doing here?" Megan gasped. "I didn't feel like going fishing, so I decided to just hang around with you guys today. I thought we could go to some nice places for lunch together. I have to go back tonight, so I didn't want to spend the day with Brad and Jack in a stinky boat." No, that won't work. Nancy and I have some stuff planned for today. We would rather go by ourselves. I can go out with you anytime, but I only get to see Nancy a couple times a year. Hell, you're going to be here all week, Megan. I think you can give me at least half a day since I drove all the way down here. You have the whole rest of the week to do your girly stuff with your sister. Nancy picked up her cell phone and went out of the room, hitting the speed dial on the way. Megan was sitting in the kitchen chair, slumped over as if she had just been hit by a truck. We could hear Nancy screaming at Brad over the phone like he had just committed the crime of the century. I felt sorry for the guy, but he married her. "Phil, I don't want to get nasty about this, but Nancy and I really don't want you tagging along today. We have our whole day laid out, and it doesn't include you." "Okay. Tell me what you have planned for today, and I'll decide. If I don't like it, I'll keep myself busy some other way. I still don't understand because you have the entire week here, and I only have today. You girls aren't meeting a couple of guys, are you?" "No, damn it. We are not meeting any guys. We just wanted to do some shopping for intimate stuff. Bras, underwear, and nightgowns. It's the type of item that we don't want you guys around when we are trying it on." "Well, most of those shops are in the mall, and I can keep myself busy doing other things while you are using the dressing rooms. I'll just tag along and stay out of your way. You don't have to worry about entertaining me. When lunchtime rolls around, I'll take you to someplace fancy to make up for the trouble I caused you." Nancy was standing in the doorway, glaring at me. She didn't say a thing. Megan could see that she was not going to be able to reason with me and appeared to be ready to give up. They were both still in their housecoats. Finally, Megan stood up. "I have to go get dressed." As she walked out, Nancy looked over at me. "You're a real dip. Do you know that?" A big grin crossed my face as she followed Megan upstairs. About 20 minutes later, the light on the landline phone came on. Somebody upstairs was making a call. The clock was ticking. They had an hour to get to the center. I was trying to figure out what my next move would be. If they tried to leave without me, I would just follow them and make sure that they knew it. I didn't think they would try that. 20 minutes later, they both came down the stairs. "Okay, Phil, let's go shopping," Megan said with a little attitude. It was a little easier than I thought it would be. The upstairs phone call must have been to the family planning center, and I bet it was to reschedule the appointment. Since I said I was leaving that night, they probably figured the best way around the problem was to just wait until I left. I wasn't trying to stop Megan from getting the abortion, but I wanted to make it more difficult for her. I insisted on taking my car because I wanted to drive. I didn't want them ditching me someplace. A few miles from the house, I pulled into a service station. I filled up the gas tank, checked the oil and water, and cleaned the windshield. It was the most time I ever spent servicing my car. They both just sat fuming. When we arrived at the mall, I parked far out so we would have a good walk. Once we were in the mall, I pretty much left them alone. I kept an eye on them but really could care less what they were doing or what they were buying. They didn't seem to be having any fun. They spent most of the time talking to each other and making gestures. They bought a few things just to show me they had been shopping. I tried to stay hidden but still keep them in sight. There was definitely some serious discussion going on. The time for the appointment passed. I had succeeded in delaying the inevitable. I knew she was still going to be getting the procedure, so I had no intention of interfering any further. Shortly after noon, they came back to the center court of the mall, where I said I would meet them. We went to the Olive Garden for lunch and got back to the house at about 2 p.m. There was not much conversation during lunch or on the drive home. I was smiling to myself the whole time. I knew these two women hated me right now, and I didn't care. What a wonderful feeling. I helped myself to a beer and chilled out on the sofa. Brad finally got home, and for about 30 minutes, Nancy beat him verbally about the head and shoulders. He weaseled his way out the door and disappeared for a couple of hours. He was back by supper time. After the girls finished cleaning up, I asked Brad and Nancy if Megan and I could talk privately in the kitchen. Nancy gave me one of her sneers, and they both went into the living room. Megan was still upset with me because of what happened that day. I could tell she wasn't going to be easy to get along with. First thing, Megan, I would like to ask you one more time. Will you please quit your job and stop seeing Kirk Langford? Her teeth clenched tightly, and it was all she could do to keep from hitting me. Damn it. I don't want to have to hear that ever again. I am tired of you bringing it up all the time and refuse to even waste my time answering you anymore. You know the answer. It is the same as it has always been, and it will not change. Now either play a new tune or get the hell out of here. I reached into the manila envelope I had by the chair and pulled out a legal-sized envelope. Okay, I asked you at least 10 times in the last 2 months, and each time you refused to do as I requested. I had no other choice. Megan, these are divorce papers. All you have to do is sign them and mail them in. There is a self-addressed, stamped envelope included. If you decide you want a lawyer to look them over, please be my guest. She glared at me and leaned across the table. You dumb son of a blip. You can't divorce me just because I don't want to quit my job or have the friends you want me to have. If you want a divorce, you have to have grounds, and you don't. I think it is time for you to go home and get your together. I am your wife, and I have no intention of giving up my home and my family just because you don't like where I work. Megan, why did you come to visit your sister this week? I asked. That's a smart question. You know why. We discussed it before I came down. That was a lie, and you know it. What was the real reason? You tell me, you know-it-all bastard. Megan, why did you and Nancy go to the family planning center on Wednesday? I asked. Things got very quiet. My lovely wife started to squirm a little in her chair. A little bit of her bravado seemed to slip away. I don't know what you are talking about. I leaned over the table, and in a quiet, somber tone, I asked, why did you give the family planning center $800 in cash? There was no response from the other side of the table. She was looking in my direction, but her eyes seemed to be focused elsewhere. It was obvious that she was now feeling uneasy. She was swallowing as if something that tasted bad was in her mouth. Why did you have an appointment at the family planning center for 11 a.m. this morning? What exactly were they going to do for you for the $800 you gave them? God damn it. Stop harassing me about something you know nothing about. It's none of your damn business why I was there or what I was doing. Her anger had returned to full force. Megan, the family planning center does abortions. You know it, I know it, and everyone in this town knows it. Since I had myself fixed for your convenience, why would you have to get an abortion? I guess your operation wasn't as successful as you thought. Maybe you better get yourself checked. I reached into the envelope by my chair. Here are 3 lab reports, 2 months ago, 1 month ago, and last week. I am shooting nothing but blanks and have the papers to prove it. Would you like to show me the report from the Family Planning Center showing that you are not pregnant? You are truly a son of a blip, but that still isn't enough for you to justify a divorce, Megan replied. Why the hell don't you just admit that you and Kirk Langford were having an affair for the last 6 months and get it over with? We both know what was going on, and you still won't own up to it. You have no proof at all that I was doing anything with anyone other than you. I really don't want to sit here any longer and listen to you ranting about something that never happened. You never had intimacy with Kirk Langford? I asked. No, damn it. I am your wife and only had intimacy with you. Then how the heck did you get pregnant? I asked. She was biting her lip hard. There was no way she could answer that question without incriminating herself. I reached into my trusty manila envelope and brought out a stack of photos. I put 6 pictures of Megan Kirk on the table. Did you have intimacy with him? There was no answer as I placed another 6 pictures of them in various positions on the table. Stop it, damn it. Just stop it. I get the point. You have been spying on me. You are a damn sneaky son of a blip. Do you know that? If you knew something was going on, why didn't you just stop it like a man? No, you just slither around and take pictures like some sort of pervert. You make me sick with your wimpy complaining. Just then, my cell phone rang. Hi, Dad. Okay, 10 minutes would be fine. Thanks for the call. As I hung up the phone, she blurted in. What was that all about? My dad is bringing your stuff here to Nancy's place. He should arrive in about 10 minutes. The locks have been changed on our house. If there is anything that we forgot to pack, let me know and I will get it down to you. She just sat there, not speaking. Here is the title to your car. I signed it over to you. In this envelope is half of the money in the bank accounts, about $1,200. I have arranged for you to have visitation rights with the kids once a week. I am willing to allow an overnight stay every month if you are willing to make a statement attesting to the affair and have it notarized. Oh, by the way, I also have a DVD I didn't get to show you. It is from the May 10th visit you and Kirk made to the Scandia Motel. It's 2 hours long and shows the two of you doing everything that is in those pictures. As I picked up the photos, I said, I didn't take any of these. I really didn't care what you were doing. I just didn't like being taken for a fool. Last of all, I would like you to have this memento of our love. I took the safety pin off my keychain and slid it across the table. What the hell is this? Megan asked. That is the pin I used to poke little holes in all your condoms for the last 2 months. Did you know you used 48 rubbers in the last 2 weeks alone? Good old Kirk was getting more intimacy than I ever dreamed of getting. He sure is a lucky guy. You miserable little weasel. That is the most despicable thing I ever heard of. You really are a bastard, Megan replied. No, dear, the most despicable thing is having intimacy with someone that you are not married to. I may be a bastard, but you are truly a cheating woman. Sorry, I have to run. Dad just pulled up in the driveway. By the way, just in case you didn't notice, you never said you were sorry and you never apologized for what you did. I don't think you deserve to be married to me. Goodbye, Megan. Enjoy your abortion Monday. She finally started crying as I walked out of the room. Nancy ran in to comfort her, and Brad followed me out on the front porch. What the hell are you doing, man? Brad blurted out as he grabbed my arm. You two have been married for 14 years. You can't just throw that all away over a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Brad, why did my wife come down to visit you and Nancy? He looked at his feet for a few seconds as if he was thinking. Sorry, Phil, let me help you unload the truck. We had the truck unloaded in about 10 minutes. Megan was wailing the whole time in the kitchen. I didn't know what she was crying about, and to be honest, I really didn't care. Kirk and Megan were both fired from Globus the next week. Megan refused to sign an affidavit. The lawyer said he had a strong enough case without it. I didn't hear from my loving wife at all after that night. She did not come to see the children. They didn't seem to mind because they were forming a good bond with Janet. We spent a lot of time together as a family mostly. There was no intimacy or even talk of it. We were not going to do anything that might jeopardize the divorce. The kids and I were learning a lot about Coy and having a great time doing it. At last, after 4 months, both divorces were final. Megan never fought hers, but Kirk went down kicking and screaming. He lost the house and all the investments and ended up having to pay a large monthly alimony payment. A few days before Christmas, Megan came to the house with presents for the kids. I was polite and didn't do anything at all to ruin the holiday spirit. She stayed for about 2 hours and then left as quietly as she came. Nothing was said between us about the divorce or the affair. I put the house up for sale, and 2 months later we moved in with Janet. Kirk took a job in Omaha, and Megan went with him. 4 months later, Kirk disappeared and didn't tell her where he was going. Megan moved back in with Nancy after Brad left for a job on the Alaskan pipeline. 2 months later, Nancy received divorce papers in the mail. I am sure that the two sisters are good company for each other. Janet and I are comfortable with each other. She adores the kids, and they feel the same way about her. We are planning on getting married in June and spending every moment we can practicing for the honeymoon. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.